Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, who came to us in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, a man, and in the name of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the black man from Sandersville, Georgia, who, when he saw this man and heard this man, he knew exactly what he was looking at. As we say in the streets, it takes one to know one. And in the name of the most honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the black man who is the best student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and my boss, I'd like to greet you, that's the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'd like to greet you in the greetings and peace of Assalamu alaikum. As you can hear, you hear my birds, but you also hear the raindrops on my tin roof of my porch here, my rocking porch. And I move according to intuition, guidance. I like to believe that it's guidance from Allah. And I'm going to do what's a will and testament. Not necessarily my last will, but it's my will and testament. I don't have any real property, but I do have a will. And I want to explain to you a little bit about where the energy comes from that keeps me going, my will. So this is my testament, a little bit of my history, and the war that we're in right now. Before I go into that, some people have said, Dr. Richard, why don't you just stick to farming? Well, I've been down here farming since 1995 for the Nation of Islam. 1,600 acres, hard clay. And I've proven myself. Maybe not the greatest farmer in the world, but every year, all praise is due to Allah. We've come out with a crop. And some say that our crop tastes better than anybody's, no matter what we do. Allah has blessed us to produce excellent tasting food. In particular, our watermelons, people say, is the best in the country. I don't know, but tastes the best to me, and other folks have told me that. So, and I have, taking my time to write a book called The Science and Business of Farming versus the Art and Hobby of Gardening, which is, I place most of what I know in this book right here. So I can say that I have am farming. I'm a scientist. I kept up with what we do, and I put it in the book for you to learn from. So, but there's something that keeps me here, keeps me going. I've been here for 23 years on this same farm. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad got this farm in 1966, but it was 4,500 acres. And my understanding is that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad left in 75, and in 76, they had sold all the equipment off and rented the land out. I had hoped to have worked on this farm when I finished college in 1976. I visited, in fact, in 1975, talked to the farm manager, and thought I may get an opportunity to work here, but that did not happen. But in talking with people who know of this history of this farm, they said that from 1966 to 1976, 10 years, they had 4 farm managers in 10 years. I have been down here, one farm manager down here for 23 years. And when I first got down here in 1995, I had no equipment. I thought I was supposed to have some equipment. Savior's Day, I was told I was going to have a tractor, 2 tractors, and all the equipment. When I got here, I had nothing but my pickup truck, which I drove here from Greensboro, North Carolina. So, but we kept moving. When we got black farmers to help me to get started. And that first season, in May, we asked for the tractor trailers to come and pick up the produce that Allah has blessed us to grow. And we've been moving ever since. And it's been tough. Some people say, Dr. Richard, you're a little rough. Well, I'm going to tell you something. Mama Nature, she's tough. And you have to be tough if you're going to survive out here. And when people come to the farm, I have to make sure they pay attention because there's snakes out here, mosquitoes, there's gnats, and there's stingers, bees. So it's dangerous out here, and we don't need you messing up and getting hurt. So I'm tough. Pay attention. But today, we're going to deal with what makes me tough and what keeps me going. So let's go back in history a little bit. Because I'm going to bring up something now, because there's been a great debate around Minister Farrakhan after his February 25th, 2018 Savior's Day address, where he went into the kitchen. You know, on the street, you go into somebody's kitchen. Mr. Farrakhan went into the kitchen of the so-called Jews, the Talmudic Jews, the Ashkenazi Jews, and pointed out from their book that they really go by. They don't go by the Bible or the Torah as they have us Christians going by. They go by the Talmud, which in the Talmud says that they hate Jesus so much. They said Jesus is dead in hell, boiling in excrement. That's a terrible thing to say. They really hate the Jesus then and the one now, in the person of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his helper, the small Jesus, which is becoming a big Jesus, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and the so-called Jews, the Ashkenazi, white, non-Semitic Jews, are after him. And one way they do it, they cannot dispute what he says, because what he says is true. But what they do is they try to get other Negroes to go up against the minister. So it just so happened that a person named Young Pharaoh posted some negative video on Minister Farrakhan after the speech. And I went and visited his YouTube page and listened to what he was talking about, and I didn't like it. So I went on his page and I asked him in the comment section, can we talk? And I gave my email address. But instead of talking, 2 hours later, he posted this old video that Malcolm had done with Mike Wallace back in 1964. And he had titled it, Young Pharaoh titled it, Malcolm X says that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the messenger, is a pedophile. So I didn't like that. And so I disproved what he said and showed that the teenage girls that Malcolm claimed the messenger had were not teenage girls, but grown women. 2 of them being his ex-girlfriends. So I broke down the math, and I went into Pharaoh a little bit by showing that he got a name that he don't understand, called himself Pharaoh. Well, that's not the name of the kings of ancient Egypt. Pharaoh was a name, meaning great house, the name of those usurpers who came into Egypt and took us over and sat on our seat, on our throne of Isis, and called themselves Pharaoh. So I asked him, are you a usurper? Because Pharaoh is a title of a usurper. Well, he took down all my comments on his post, and he blocked me. And then he wouldn't claim that somebody threatened him. No, I didn't threaten him. I beat him down intellectually, right in his face on his Facebook page. But he claimed somebody threatened him. Maybe somebody else did, but I didn't threaten the brother. I did what I wanted to do, disprove what he was saying, and show that he don't know what he's talking about when he tried to talk about ancient Egypt. Because that's my thing, baby. Okay, that's my hobby. Been to that since 1969. So now let's get into my history so that you can see where I get my will from. In 1967, my first year at an all-white prep school, Phillips Exeter Academy in Exeter, New Hampshire. In January of 1967, my brother sent me a copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X. And that was the first book I had read written by a black person, even though I was in the 10th grade. And I read that book almost all night long for a couple of days until I finished it. And when he said that the white man was the devil, that was all I needed to know. And I went downstairs and cussed a bunch of white folks out and said, I've not going to work for you nor your father, and all praise is due to Allah, I have kept my word. This is 1967. However, by the time we get to the end of the book, Malcolm has second thoughts about the white man as the devil and starts to say, I saw some white people in Mecca. And, I didn't know at the time in 1967 that in 64 when he went to Mecca, that in fact he had gone to Mecca, to Arabia in 1959, had seen white Muslims in Arabia and in Turkey, that Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Turkey was a whole nation of Muslims. Well, I did not know that in 1967, of white Muslims, that is. I didn't know that in 1967. So I was confused for 4 years and searching. Got into ancient Egypt real heavy because, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad brought us into blackness. Now you got some other black conscious community, they call it. There's only one black conscious community back in the 60s before Malcolm split. That one black conscious community was the Nation of Islam. And then when Malcolm split, a lot of people began to try to understand our black culture and history from his perspective instead of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And in that time, people have lost themselves, thinking that the white man was made behind some 45,000 years ago. There was some type of cold spell, and they got stuck up there in Europe, and they came out white 45,000 years ago. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said the white man was made on the island of Pelan or Patmos in 6,600 years ago. That was a process that started him being grafted from the black man, from the brown germ in the black man, and grafted down from the brown, from the black to brown, the yellow to white. And that these people were a whole race of devils, and they hated black people, but their mission was to conquer us, to put us in bondage, and then our God was going to come and save us and destroy them. So that's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught Malcolm, and what Malcolm taught. And by the way, that movie Malcolm X came out we'll get to that, in 1992. And in the movie, he don't talk about Yaqub at all in the making of the white man in that movie. That was one of his favorite topics when he was with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They're trying to hide something. They've been hiding something when they resurrected Malcolm to come against Minister Farrakhan. And we're going to get to that later. So, I started studying about the pyramids in 1969 at the Schomburg Institute, and it said the pyramids were built for a dead man. It took 30 years to build the Great Pyramid for a dead man. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad had taught us that when we were gods, you can go back to Egypt, the Kemet, the Nile Valley, and see where we were before we fell completely. To see that at one time we were gods of this planet, and that we did everything right and exact. And in me, it didn't make any sense to work 30 years to build a tomb for a dead man. So I kept studying and studying and studying. And before I could figure that out, I figured out that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was indeed the messenger of Allah. And I believe that he did have a plane, that his God, Master Farad Muhammad, had a plane that could kill white people. Well, in 1970, 71, when I was a student at Columbia University, after finished Phillips Exeter, got a scholarship to Columbia University, he that the white man was the devil and God was coming to kill him, and I wanted to kill him. I used to lay in my bedroom in college and try to figure out ways to kill white folks, enough of them, before they got me, and I couldn't figure it out. Okay, but then Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that there's a weapon, a plane, half mile by half mile, and they can wipe them out in 12 hours. I said, you know what? I go along with that. I like that. And plus they had a bean pie. And all the other Negroes talking about, black folks talking about revolution. Didn't have no farmland, didn't have no food for their army, didn't have no bullets. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had farmland, and Honorable Elijah Muhammad had the bean pie, which I was eating 2 6-inch bean pies per day. I said, at least he can feed his army, and they definitely won't have a bowel movement problem. Okay? So, I joined the Nation of Islam in 1971, and Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that agriculture is the root of civilization. I was in economics at Columbia University, and so I transferred, when I joined the Nation in 71, back down to North Carolina, to North Carolina A&T State University, where I first took up architecture, engineering, for a year, but I didn't like it because I would be stuck inside for 5 years as an apprentice. Even after 5 years of college, another 5 years stuck inside drawing lines. I couldn't deal with that. So I changed it to agricultural economics, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said agriculture was the root of civilization. So here I wanted to learn how things got started. So I started studying Egypt more intensely, as well as me working to get my degree in agricultural economics. And like I said, in '75, I even came down here to Georgia and visited this same farm, hoping that I would finish up work here when I finished up college. So I joined the nation. I kind of put down the Kemetic stuff for a while and just pushed very hard in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is 20 miles from Greensboro. Winston-Salem is my home. They used to call me the Muslim. And then when I come to travel every day to school, I had a bow tie, suit, bow tie on every day, and I would bake bean pies and bake bread before I would come to class, and then I would sell the bean pies at break, at lunch. We didn't eat lunch, but I sold the Muhammad Speaks and bean pies in front of the library, which is on a public street in Greensboro. So that's what I did until graduation, and then there was no place to go because all the equipment had been sold off. When I finished, they weren't farming. The nation wasn't farming anymore. They were leasing the land out. So I went on to get my master's degree. I thought, well, I went to jewelry making first. Okay, I learned how to make jewelry, and I didn't want to go to Ohio State, work on a PhD at that time. I wanted to learn business, so I learned how to make jewelry, sell jewelry, repair jewelry. So I did that for a number of years, and then I decided to, when the silver market was crashed in '79, I decided to go back to college, okay, and get my master's in agricultural economics. And then in 1982, when Jimmy Carter lost and Reagan was in there, I decided I better go back and get my PhD, because there would be no money on the street for black people trying to go in business for myself. So I said, no, let me go get my PhD. So I got my PhD, working on my PhD. Then in 1984, something happened. I started studying ancient Egypt again, and ancient Greece, because something was bothering me. I found when I go to Michigan State that the white people are playing games, trying to get you out of the system, trying to make you make a mistake. I said, white people is the devil. Even though Wallace had come in and told us that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching wasn't true, Master Farad Muhammad was a fake. And so, I had pulled away from Wallace and then, forgot all about the nation, because, okay, well, whatever. I just go back to college, get a degree, come back and work at a black college, try to do something for black folks. But as we going to school at Michigan State, and I say, you know what? These are devils. So I started studying their history. I said, something funny here. And indeed, I began to see that certain things that Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught were correct. And as I was studying about Imhotep in ancient Egypt 6,000 years ago, some things began to fall in place. Imhotep, a big-headed scientist, he was the first, he credited to be the first medical doctor. He built the first stone pyramid at Saqqara. And he also solved a water problem. They had a drought, a 7-year drought. Remember the 7 years in the Bible? Joseph and so forth. But actually it was real with Imhotep. There was a 7-year drought. And the king was very concerned. He asked Imhotep to help him out. And Imhotep found out that the Nile River was fed from underground. And that somebody had a key. That's that Ankh. Had a key that opened and closed the underground valve to an underground river that fed the Nile. So he went to a meter up in Nubia, the king up there, and asked him, because he was over the priesthood down at Elephantine, where the water was turned on and off at. And so after talking with him, then all of a sudden the water began to flow. And I said, well, what's up with this? How can a man solve a water problem? He's a medical doctor and he's an architect. Something's got to be close. Something's got to tie those things together, because they're not close. Well, there's water. So 1984, in the middle of the night, I hit one word: water. So then I started studying and understand that Egypt was the product of the Nile. And then later on I found out that in fact the Nile was made by the Egyptians, and it was just a perfect agricultural system, the system that floods and bring in new soil and all that, and that underground 200 feet beneath the surface was an aquifer that ran all the way from the Atlas Mountains underneath Libya into Egypt, and that the Egyptians were able to tap into that water, dig wells, and build pyramids on top of the wells, and then use that water to purify the water for the people to drink in the 40 days that they couldn't drink the Nile water because it was flooded. When it flooded every year, it would pick up all the feces from the animals and the humans and make it undrinkable. And even when you go over there now, they tell you, I'm going to drink the Nile water because it got this worm in it, this that will grow into about 10 feet long inside your body. So you don't drink that. You have to drink bottled water even today. So the Egyptians had that problem, so they had to purify the water. And so this 1988, my book, Amen, The Secret Waters of the Great Pyramid, where I talk about that that the pyramids were not tombs, but were part of a water irrigation purification system. And when I was promoting the book, a brother named Curtis at ECA Associates, he helped me to market my book. And he got me a chance to speak at ASCAP because he talked to some of the members of ASCAP, Leonard Jeffries and James Smalls, and they invited me to speak at their annual meeting. Well, Dr. Ben heard about it, and he didn't like it. I sent him a copy of the book before I published it. I sent him a copy because I had great admiration for Dr. Ben. But I found later on that he was telling people that I was crazy, that I didn't know what I was talking about, and he didn't want to be he didn't want to be in the same city with me, much less on the same stage. But they did allow me to speak at that event, and I speak at a few other events. But Dr. Ben, who was the guru at that time, didn't like me because of my name, Dr. Rizal Abdul Mukmin. At that time, he didn't like Muslims. He claimed to be Hebrew Jewish, and he was a follower of Malcolm and John Henry Clark, and so they didn't like the nation, they didn't like Muslims, and so he didn't like me nor my book. But later on, I ran into him in 1989. The next year, after my book came out, I ran into him in 1989 in Cairo after I had visited the Giza Plateau, after I had visited the Great Pyramid, after I had seen something in the descending passage as it was coming out. In a niche right across from the ascending passage was a hole. And I looked in that hole, and up on steel girders with this huge red granite block, a valve, a flip valve. And I had said in my book that the water came up and it hit a valve, and it opened up the ascending passage, then it closed, and then when it closed, the water would go out purified, and they distribute the water through the delta area of Egypt. Well, when I saw this, I hadn't seen it in any book before. I hadn't seen it in any book, this valve. I knew it had to be there, but I didn't see it in any book that done all type of measurements of the Great Pyramid. But when I saw that, I said, I'm right, man. And when I saw him right after that, I said, brother, those are not tombs, and you know it. They said, word. I said, who said that? The white man? You tell me the white man's gonna tell you that too? You know they ain't never found no bodies in none of these pyramids, man. That's down there in Luxor. We're gonna see that 2 days from now. Now you're an engineer. He was a civil engineer by training. I said, you know that those are part of a water system, man. So anyway, he refused to go along with what I was saying. So I videotaped it, but I destroyed the video because I was very disrespectful to him because he really upset me. So I kept going with my research, and when I went down to in Abydos on that same trip and ran into the so-called Osirian, where supposedly Osiris was buried. Well, Osiris is fresh water, okay? And Isis, or Set, is the Nile Valley, and Set is the dryness of the desert. Well, Osiris was killed by his brother Set, which is a cycle that happened every year. Every year, the Nile dried down. Okay, it almost stopped. Okay, and then the rains came, and then the underwater came from underground every year, same time. And that underground water is Osiris being resurrected, or Heru, as Heru, his son, and they come and fill the Nile up again. So this cycle went on, but Abydos was a huge well whose stones were the same as the stones at the Giza Plateau, where I had just come from the Giza Plateau 2 days before then, and the caretakers there at the Valley Temple that run from the causeway from the Kafra to the Valley Temple, there was a hole in the floor, and the hole was a pipe. And I asked him, "What's in that pipe?" I said, "What's that hole?" He said, "It's a hole." I said, "What's that pipe doing in that hole?" He said, "Well, it's attached to water." I said, "From where? Here now? 2 miles away?" He said, "No, Aswan." Aswan, that's 400 miles away. So why would, how could water get from Aswan underground and come up? You had to have a pipe. Why do you have to pipe it? Evidently, it would be flooding the Giza Plateau if they didn't let that water out every now and then. So there's got to be a tunnel then. If it's not from the Nile right here, there's going to be a tunnel. And indeed, Strabo and other historians back in the day, Strabo's from Rome, way back in the days of Rome, said there was in fact an underground river on the west bank of the Nile, underground. This is what they had made, tunnels that the Egyptians had made. So I said, this bears witness that it was all about water, and I'm right about why they built the pyramids. And later on in my next book, I even go into how the pyramids were built. In fact, using water. This is my next book I did in 2003. And the reason I did this book is that after 2001, with 911, I was down here working on the farm now. And by the way, how I got down here on the farm was that I'm going to give you a little story about what got me to come back in the nation to join up with Minister Farrakhan. Okay, and then I was chosen to come down here. Somebody said, "Look, I know somebody who's in agriculture. Mr. Farrakhan needed someone to run the farm." In '95, the brother who he picked first couldn't move because of his family situation. So then they asked me, and yes, I'd be glad to do it. I didn't really know at the time this was the same farm that I was supposed to work on when I had come out of college. I didn't know that at that time. But anyway, yes, because I wanted to serve him by any capacity. And I'll tell you in a minute why I wanted to serve Minister Farrakhan in any capacity, because I knew who he was in 1993. All right? And I've been down here since 95, proving my faith in him, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Master Farad Muhammad, and my faith in what I believe that I'm going to tell you now, okay, about Malcolm. So I came down here in 95. The Million Man March happened in 95. Okay, I came down here in February of 95. Million Man March happened in October 16, 1995. 2 million black men. And what the enemy saw an army, and then he saw a farm that could feed the army. Little did I know that this area of southwest Georgia, right here in Terrell County and Dougherty County, right here, was what's called the Egypt of the Confederacy. Right here was where they grew the food and for the soldiers of the Confederacy, and where they grew the cotton to make the uniforms for the Confederacy. Right here. So here I was, right back in Egypt, the Egypt of America. As the sign said in 1910, as you're going into Albany, it has a sign over some over some stacks of cotton, bales of cotton in the shape of a pyramid. It says, "Welcome to the Egypt of America." So here I was, a studier of Egypt, winding up in Egypt. So, but the enemy saw a problem, and immediately he went to destroy our ability to make money from the farm. From 1990 2006 to 2001, he reduced cotton, wheat, soybeans, and corn to from half of what they were in 1996. Okay, to destroy us, to destroy the black man ever going back into farming. Then he set up this fake consent decree in 1997. Okay, to keep the black farmers thinking that the government is going to finally treat them right and to keep them away from the Nation of Islam. But they asked me to help them. I've been working with them. That's a whole other story that's in a video I did called The Snake in the Reparations Grass, to show you the conspiracy against the black farmer by the U.S. government that continues today. But back to my story. So in 2001, 9/11 happened. And me and my wife were looking at it on TV. And when those buildings fell, immediately we knew that no, fire can't do that. That's an internal demolition. We had just been seeing some things on the PBS earlier, studying about demolition, how they would take down these buildings. And when we saw that, we knew. So I said, they're coming to get us. They coming to get the Muslims. Because they said 19 Arabs did that. I said, nah, they coming to get us. So I went downtown looking around, and there was a book called The Day of Deceit. And I got that book. And I read that book. And a few days later, somebody from Albany Herald came to the farm, wanted to tour the farm. I took her around. Then, after we talked about the farming, she asked me a question. She said, so what do you think about 911? I said, here we go. I said, well, you saw it like I saw it. I'm down here. I don't know, but I did get this book called Day of Deceit, where it says that Franklin Roosevelt, FDR, he knew that the Japanese were going to attack Pearl Harbor. He had broken the code months in advance, and yet he allowed it to happen because he wanted to go to war with Japan, but he had promised that he wouldn't get America into war with Japan, so he had to make Japan strike first so that he have the excuse to go into war. So I said, I don't know what happened up there, but I know they lied one time, so I don't know. They could be lying now. Of course, that was never put into the news on the Albany Herald, and they didn't do the report on the farm. So I say, look, they're coming to get us. So I might as well put out what I know now, because, I might wind up in jail or dead because they're coming to get us. But all praise due to Allah, we're still here. So this what made me decide to go ahead and write this book. And in this book, I talk about Malcolm X. As a part of the book, Malcolm X being 666. The Bible talks about in Revelations chapter 13, it talks about the 666 from 15 through 18 of Revelations 13. And I wasn't looking for anybody being 666. But something happened, and I'll talk about it in the book. In 1991, while I was in the t-shirt business, okay, I was a professor at North Carolina A&T, but that's another whole nother story. We fell out, all right? So I went in business for myself now, designing and printing t-shirts. And selling them right in front of the bookstore at North Carolina A&T. That's a whole other story. I went to war with him in a very, very scientific way. No weapons except this right here. Anyway, I was making a lot of money selling T-shirts. Mandela came out in 1990. That really started the black consciousness thing when the Mandela came out. And so in 1991, Michael Jordan came to practice with a cap on, had an X. And I saw this in the paper. And I said, whoa, they're getting ready to resurrect Malcolm X. And I didn't want to take advantage of that situation, because everybody was doing X shirts. And in anticipation of a movie coming out in 1992 called Malcolm X. So they're promoting it now with paraphernalia. And everybody's making money. But I didn't want to I said, well, why are they resurrecting Malcolm at this time? Because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had resurrected the nation of Islam, a whole new nation of Islam. Okay, Elijah Muhammad was gone, Malcolm was dead. He started over just with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And those teachings resurrected the nation of Islam. And he was going around the country to stop the killing of black folks, killing young people, killing one another over drug territory. He went around the country, stop the killing, stop the killing. And he became 1990s North Carolina A&T, and he talked stop the killing, was made me not to kill the president of the chancellor of the college at that time, because I knew what they was trying to do. They was trying to destroy the School of Agriculture so they can merge North Carolina A&T with the University of North Carolina in Greensboro, which was a white college. So I knew they was trying to destroy agriculture at A&T, so they would say they was redundant in terms of the university system, and they was going to merge. And so I was fighting against that, and so we got into a scrape. So I couldn't beat him on one level, so what I decided to do was get him, the chancellor, in trouble with his boss, who's the president of the university system, by setting up right in the middle of the campus selling black paraphernalia, t-shirts, books, and even North Carolina A&T t-shirts that I designed and printed. They couldn't get me on copyright because I did it a special type of way. They couldn't get me. I say, I'm using this right here. So anyway, I really hated that man, you know. But when Mr. Farrakhan says, you know, stop the killing, I said, no, I'm not going to kill him, but I'm going to get rid of him. And all praise due to Allah, he wound up going back into the classroom. But that's another story. But when I saw this XCAP, I said, let me study Malcolm. You know, Malcolm was called Satan when he was in prison. He was called Red. Now, I know in ancient Kemet, Set was the red one, and Osiris was the black one. And when it comes to the human personality or structure, the ancient Egyptians believed that there was two fighters in your body. One black, Osiris, and the other red, Set. Now I said, wait a minute, in the Nation of Islam, you got the black germ and the brown germ. So, Malcolm. Now, then I studied Malcolm, and the XCAP came out in 91. Then I studied that in 1935, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's own brother, Khalat, he came up against the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Once the Honorable Elijah Muhammad started teaching that Master Farad Muhammad was more than a prophet, was God in person. I said, so 1935 from 1991 was 28 years. Going back to ancient Kemet, Egypt, Set killed Osiris when Osiris was 28. I said, whoa, what's going on here? Then I found out that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was born in 1897. Malcolm was born in 1925, 28 again. So I said, now what's going to happen when the movie comes out in 1992? Mr. Farrakhan said, do not talk about the movie. To all of his ministers, don't talk about the movie. Then I said, that's interesting, because Malcolm got in trouble because he spoke on the death of Kennedy. When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told all of his ministers, don't speak on the death of Kennedy, he broke rank and he spoke on the death of Kennedy, and he had to be not dismissed, but he was not allowed to speak. Then he didn't like that he couldn't speak no more, so he left and then threw excrement in the face of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, which is the way the Set fought with the son of Osiris, Horus, that was to defend his father. Then Set would fight by throwing excrement in the face of Horus. So when Malcolm throwing excrement in the face of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to destroy his character, I said, So I decided to look more and more into this dude, Malcolm, right? Remember that Malcolm was the one that woke me up in 1967. And in our lessons, problem number 13, in our lessons, and remember that problem number 13, Revelations 13, chapter 13, and verse 18 deals with the number 666. So, but on our Supreme Wisdom in the problem book, problem number 13, it says, after learning mathematics, which is Islam, and Islam is mathematics, it stands true. You can always prove it at no limit of time. Then you must learn to use it and secure some benefit while you are living. That is luxury, money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life. Sit yourself in heaven at once. That is the greatest desire of your brother and teachers. Now that you must speak the language so you can use your mathematical theology in the proper term. Otherwise, you will not be successful unless you do speak well, for she knows all about you. And by the way, you see, I don't speak too well. Anyway, the Secretary of Islam offers a reward to the best and the neatest worker of this problem. There are 26 letters in the language, and if a student learns one letter per day, then how long will it take him to learn the 26 letters? 26 days? Okay, there are 10 numbers in the mathematical language. Then how long would it take a student to learn the whole 10 numbers at the above rate? Well, 10. So 10 plus 26, that's 36. So you can learn the letters and the numbers in 36 days. That's a big problem. Why is that a problem? Then it says the average man speaks 400 words considered well. So I said, oh, wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. You know, I talk about the pyramids being made for dead man, didn't make any sense. And now this problem, given all this weight and 26 letters, how long does it take you to learn that one letter per day? 10 numbers, one number per day. What's the big deal? So I said, well, let me try something here. Let me put a number to each letter. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, going all the way down to Z, which is 26. That's 26 letters, and you put a number to each one of them. And then you take a name. I just tried it out. I said, let me put Malcolm here. Malcolm is, M is 13, A is 1, L is 12, C is 3, O is 15, L is 12, M is 13. Well, you add them up, that comes to 69. You add 69, that comes to 15, and 1 and 5 is 6. I said, whoa. Then X, Malcolm, X, little. X is 24 by itself, and 2 and 4 is 6. And then little. L is 12, I is 9, T is 20, T is 20, L is 12, E is 5. You add them up, it comes to 78. 7 and 8 is 15, and 1 and 5 is 6. I said, oh my God. So let me try Elijah Poole. Well, Elijah Poole came up to 9 and 9, and then Elijah Muhammad came up to 2. And if you spell Mohammed, it comes up to 9, but Muhammad is 2. So there was 992 or 999. Malcolm was 666. I said, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? So I didn't plan to do nothing with that until after, this is 1991 now, until after the movie came out in 92. I won't do nothing with that. But what happened was, since I knew that they was resurrecting Malcolm to fight the new Nation of Islam and to fight Minister Farrakhan, I said, okay, I know what they're doing. I'm going to go ahead on and play. So I decided to make up some X shirts, X caps. Made a lot of money that summer of 1991. And then as the fall was approaching, I said, well, so we too cool for t-shirts. So let me make up some sweat shirts and sweat suits. So I made up a sweat suit of the big X, Malcolm X here. Then on the leg was Malcolm X going down the side of the leg, long like that. Bad. Beautiful. So I made a bunch of them up, and I was getting ready to sell them. But then on a Sunday night, in the middle of the night, somebody broke in my van and stole all my stuff. All right? Everything. $8,000 worth of stuff. Now, for some folks, $8,000 ain't no big deal. For me, that was a big deal. That was like, you out of business, bro. You got to get a job. You got to leave the city because you don't get a job in no college, university around there because you tried. They wanted you to come up to Rutgers, but they wouldn't give me tenure, so I said, I ain't coming up there without you giving me tenure. That means, you can't fire me once I get tenure. So they wouldn't do that, so I said, man, I'm in trouble. So anyway, I said, well, what I'm going to do, this was Monday morning when I found this thing out. Tuesday, they had started doing a study group on campus on Tuesday nights. I had never been to it. I decided to go. So I went, and brother taught, question and answers. I said, I don't have a question, but I just want to give y'all this information. So I broke it down about Malcolm X little, the mathematics, Malcolm X little 666. And of course, everybody was stunned. What? What does that mean? I said, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know what to do with it. So anyway, that was a Tuesday. On Thursday, I went to the grocery store. I saw my sweatsuit walking in the door. X on top, Malcolm X down the side, mine, no doubt. But I hadn't sold it. So I knew that was my stolen goods. So the sister was wearing it. I approached her. I said, you know what? I like that. That's nice. Man, I'd like to have one of those. She said, oh, we just got a new shipment. Me and my brother just got a new shipment in. Oh, okay. Cool. Can I buy some? She said, well, yeah, here's my name, my address, and my phone number. I said, oh, okay. Well, thank you very much. And I walked away and said, ooh. So I went to the police the next day and told them, said, look, I got the address and phone number of the person who has my stolen goods. Because I went to the police that Monday when they told me, well, who you think did it? I don't know. Well, be more careful next time. What? Are you going to find these people or not? So anyway, so then when I took that to them on that Friday morning, I expected them to act on it. But no. They said, well, that's not good enough proof. What? So I got one of my salespeople to go and buy an outfit. The brother went there. They wouldn't sell him an outfit. They said the next day we can come to the flea market. They'll be there. Well, I was crushed. I said, oh, they'd have figured it out, man. They on the run. They didn't realize that somebody had peeped them. So anyway, I couldn't sleep that night, but next morning I got up, went to the flea market, and sure, there was my stuff. And they had the stuff laid out so good that I learned how to lay my stuff out from them. I mean, it was good. Professional crooks and sellers. So anyway, so I went outside, called the police. That was before the days of the cell phones. Called the police on the payphone. And I said, look, I found my stuff. They said, how'd you do that? I said, do I have to go in and arrest them? Are you going to come or what? Oh, no, don't you do nothing. You just wait right there. We coming. So they came, and we went into the flea market, and they handcuffed the brother and the sister, and I got all my stuff back. They hadn't had a chance to sell anything. I got all my stuff back. So for me, that was a sign from Allah. Okay, wow. Then this must be true. But still, I didn't know what to do with it. I said, I'm going to wait. Now, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told us ministers don't speak on it. The movie came out in '92, and he said I will speak on it at Savior's Day of 1993. So I wasn't in the nation at the time. I didn't go to Savior's Day, but the local study group went to Savior's Day, and they brought me back a tape. I got that tape on a Monday or a Tuesday, and I had to drive up to Detroit to deliver some T-shirts. So I played it on the way up there, and in that 1993 Savior's Day, which was exactly 28 years after the murder or assassination of Malcolm to the day. February 21st, 1965, February 21st, 1993, and then Minister Farrakhan brought the four wives of the messenger on stage, which told the truth that Malcolm was jealous of the messenger because some of the sisters were his ex-girlfriends, and that the children of these women were helping Minister Farrakhan reestablish the Nation of Islam. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad did not approach them in any vulgar way, and they were not teenagers. They were grown women that made the choice of marrying the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, to me, those four wives were the four nails that were in the coffin of Osiris. When the Set killed Osiris, they put him in this coffin and they sent the coffin down the river. Four lead nails were put into the coffin. And I saw them four nails being taken out of the coffin of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and placed on the hypocrisy of Malcolm. Okay, so I'm driving up and I hear that. And I said, okay, he the one. And then, in the horizon, the sun was going down, and the sun went down, and then the crescent moon came up, and the crescent moon, the star Venus, was in the perfect alignment of our flag, the Nation of Islam. And that only happens once every 19 years. So here you had 19, everybody knows that 19 is a special number in Islam, 19 and 28. Ain't no coincidence. That's a sign. You know, some of you looking for a sign. Well, I saw my sign, all right? And so I said, look, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is who he says he is, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is who he says he is. And the CIA or FBI Mossad could not taught the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to do what he did on time, on my time, on the 28th thing. Because I know that they ain't know nothing about that. They don't understand the relationship between the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm, and that 28 set on Cyrus. I said, you know, that's my thing. So he did that. So for me, he saw the problem, for me, of who I should follow, who is the Messiah. For me, who's the Jesus? For me. So then I came and joined up with him. Didn't know that he was getting this farm back. Found out in 1995. And so, you know, he asked me to work here. So, sure. For the Messiah? For Jesus? Sure, I give my life for him. And so that's what I've done. I've been down here 23 years catching hell. Now I have a lot of support. I have a lot of money. Hard brick, clay, snakes, sunshine, Negroes who don't want to work for the Muslims. Muslims who don't cook anymore because everybody got jobs and they trying to pay for cars and the homes they can't afford, so nobody's cooking. So we have to do, but it's okay. It's okay because we learn a lot of things in that process. And that's why we come with value added. You know, the flour, the cream of whole wheat, the muffin mix. We coming out some more other products of taking the products, making them into a valuable final product that the people are willing to pay for more money because it's easier for them to handle. And now the farm can make money, and the black farmers can go back in the business of making money because the raw production process, the process of producing raw product, the profitability has been taken out of that system. And the only way the white farmers are still stay in business is because of government money and insurance, which is subsidized by the government. It's not because of what they produce. And many of them have gone into value-added trucking companies and processing companies. That's how they're making their money. So that's what we got to do. We got to go to value-added processing companies, trucking companies, distribution. We got to come up with products and take over the world again. That's all we were brought over here. We were brought over here because we were the masters of agriculture. They made us slaves, and now we don't want to do that, which we were born to do. Osiris was the agricultural specialist as the human being. He went around the world teaching agriculture because agriculture was the root of civilization. Okay, so that's who I am, and that's who Malcolm is, and now he's being brought forward again to fight the Nation of Islam. So I wanted to get my story out before they came to me after the minister leaves and come to me and say, you said that Malcolm X was 666. And then I'm going to have to defend myself and the minister. But no, I want to do it now. So in case I need to be put out, put down, or whatever, this is Dr. Ridgely's 666 theory, not the Nation of Islam, not the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's theory, not Minister Farrakhan's theory. So don't put that on him. I'm just telling you what I've found out to be true for myself, and this keeps me going. So I tell the other folks, find out what keeps you going, okay? But don't get on me about what I believe. You disprove what I believe, or you just leave me alone, okay? But this is what keeps me going. All praise due to Allah. And in the process, you know, we've done, I put it out again in this, you know, I am an economist, economics, developing a post-Yaqub economy, where I get into a new system called cooperative corporations and cooperative work, how to set up a system, an economic system of cooperation instead of a system of competition and usury. Then I get into this book, Commonomics 2, which is the sheep, the sheepdog, and the evil shepherd. Why I explain to you the cycles of how the Jews have manipulated for 400 years, have manipulated the financial markets to get people to come into the stock market and then fleece them every 7.132 years. Now, in my book, I had predicted that the next fall, you know, it was 2008, 2009, the fall of 2008, I predicted the next one would be in 2016. As a matter of fact, I predicted that it would be January 26th of 2016. Well, lo and behold, January 26th came and there was no fall. So I guess people say, well, you know, Doc, you was wrong. But let me explain a little thing. When I decided to put this book out in 2014, I put it out because I had a dream. I had figured it out in 2012, but I put it out because I had a dream that some brothers had some flags of Islam, and then inside the flags was meat cleavers. I said, whoa, what's all that about? So I said, you know what? If I don't tell the people what these Jews are up to, and there's a crash, and a lot of people are hurt, then they find out later on that I had predicted there was going to be this crash, then they'll be on my case. So I decided to put the book out, knowing that if I put the book out, of course, the enemy is going to read the book, and he might decide not to do the crash this time. He does it every now and then. He went through a 25-year period where they were doing crashes. So he can decide that he's not going to crash. You know, it's not something he's got to do, but it's something he knows other folks don't know, and they play this game. So I said, oh, we don't want to play that. So I knew that could happen. Then we saw the 2014, you know, they started, you know, trying to start a race war. But Mr. Farrakhan blocked it in 2014, right? They started in 2012 with Trayvon Martin. But then in 2014, they killed Mike Brown. And Minister Farrakhan spoke on that at Mos Mariam, and in August, and then of 2014. And in that speech, he said, right after the police had come in there with tanks and everything, National Guard into Ferguson, tear gas and all that, the minister said, I've been warning black people that the government intends to come in the black community like this, like they had done Ferguson last night. And I know that you all are planning to come into the black neighborhoods in Chicago. But if you roll up them tanks in Chicago, the minister said that me and my white brother, Father Flager, are going to go hand in hand in front of the tanks. Now, when he said that, I jumped out my seat. I was at Mos Mariam when he said that. I jumped out of my seat and said, checkmate. Then sat down quickly before they come taking me out. That crazy. That's that crazy fool. That Doc, he crazy. But I knew that was checkmate. Why? Because if Mr. Farrakhan stood in front of them tanks, what they gonna do? Kill him? Blow him up? Shoot him? I don't think so. You don't have to worry about the planes. Every Muslim in America would have descended upon you. You know that. He wouldn't give a damn about dying. You touch Farrakhan, you got that? So they couldn't do it. Plus Farrakhan, because he did it in 1972, he wasn't just going to say, go up in front of the tanks. He going to say, leave the community. So what would that look like? The world watching Mr. Farrakhan backing up tanks. Huh? So they said, we can't do this. Then Mr. Farrakhan started going around the country, talking about 10,000 fearless. Scared the hell out of white folks. So what you gonna do? You gonna start some mess in another city when Farrakhan's there, and Farrakhan is gonna jump up in your face again? So they had to pull the whole thing back, the plan they had for this race war. And now it's civil war between white folks. They got all that military stuff with the police. Everybody got guns, getting ready to fight black folks, and now it's like white folks getting ready to fight. But anyway, so they couldn't do the race war. Why was the race war necessary? They wanted the race war to be the cover for them stealing the money. Just like in 2008, they said the black housing market fell for black folks. Black folks had them houses they could not afford, and therefore they bellied up, and that made the whole system belly up. So they blame the 2008 crash on black people. So they wanted to blame the 2016 crash on black people. But they couldn't do that because there's no race war. Mr. Farrakhan comes 10, 15, and tells the young people what to do. Follow me. Don't go against the police. Go against their money. Boycott them. The way Martin Luther King, who's the day he was murdered was the day April 4th in 1968. This is 50 years later. The question is, are they going to open up the files on Dr. King as well that they're hiding, the way they should have opened up the files on Malcolm X in 2015? You see, the government knows what they did, and they don't want us to know, don't want the world to know. You kill Malcolm, you kill Martin. This is how you operate. That's your politics. It's murder. But you know you can't. You don't want to get that out, so you won't open up the books on yourself. Okay. So anyway, so they couldn't do the 2016 thing, but exactly on time. January 21st, 2016, Soros, who was the one trying to get the race war started, because Soros is the one who backed Black Lives Matter to the tone of $33 million, trying to start a race war. Soros, one of the richest people on the planet, Jewish, of course. They have this meeting every year in Davos, Switzerland, where all the big wigs in economics and business and banking get together and decide the course of the world. And Soros said, January 21st, 2016, that China, the second largest economy in the world, which really is not true because it's really the first, because America is number 2 now. China, they said China's yen, their currency is going to fail. China's going to sink. The president of China, January 26, 2016, told Soros, don't bet on that. You will lose. We will not go under. So what the king of China, or the president of China, what he did, he told the Chinese people, you cannot sell your stock, you cannot sell your currency. They shut down the markets. So the people could not panic. And then after the panic was over, which didn't happen because they could not panic, because the president shut it down, then China was able to recoup, the markets recouped, and now China has a stronger currency than America. China's currency is so strong now, people are going to use it to trade in oil because China's getting ready to back it by gold. So here it is, China's currency was supposed to fail in 2016 because the big Jewish bankers were betting against it, hoping that the Chinese people are going to panic and sell all their stock. And so these Jews could buy them all up, but the people couldn't panic because the president, and by the way, the Chinese owe me some money. Because I'm sure somebody read this book right here and realized what these devils were doing and blocked them by stopping the markets so they could not panic. But now China's currency is so strong, and plus China owns a whole lot of debt. Okay, owns it. America owes China, and then China got all this money, dollars, from producing all these goods, manufacturing. They took the manufacturing out of America, took them down to Mexico, took them to India, took them to China. So now the America's importer instead of an exporter. So China, all these goods here, now they got all these dollars. So what is China doing? China is buying up America. She's buying up the farmland, the ports, the ships. Soon she'll be buying the trains. She's buying up the grain elevators. She's bought up Smithfield, the largest pork producer in the world, down in North Carolina. So China is buying up America. Now, at this time I can say some things, because it's too late for them to change. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the white man was made in a process. First it was the black man, then it took 200 years to produce a brown man, another 200 years to produce the yellow man, and 200 years to produce the white man. So it went from black to brown to yellow to white, and he said that we will be coming back in power, the black man, in the reverse order. Therefore, the white's in charge now, then the yellow, then the brown, and then the black man. So now I can see the yellow man, the Chinese, the brown man, the Japanese, the Mexicans, and the East Indians. They are buying up America. Okay? We, as black people, need to buy our little part down south. Take our money, pull it in the Muhammad Economic Blueprint with Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Let's buy up the South as everybody else is buying up their chunks of America. So that then, as we develop, he said, well, I thought that Allah is going to destroy America. Maybe, maybe not. Destroy America for what? For the evil of the white man? Guess what? White man leaving. White man leaving his own country. Mr. Farrakhan has scared the white man out of his country. And so the yellow man, the brown man, what we have to do is to do our part. Let's buy up the South. Let's set up industry, businesses. Because one day, I believe, Master Farad Muhammad is going to share with us some technology, out of this world technology, with the Nation of Islam. But we have to be prepared to take that idea, turn it into a product, and then sell that product to the rest of the world and get our money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life based on the new technology that we build, not talk about. Why should he reveal high technology to us and we're not ready to turn it into a product? We just gonna talk about it for the white man, the yellow man, the brown man, and take it and make it into a product and continue to get richer? No, we have to put ourselves in place. We must believe in the unseen and build, believing that one day Allah is going to bless us to be the masters of the planet Earth once again. So I just want to leave you with that and say that I want to thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for having the faith in me to put me down here in this position, to have faith in me not to get rid of me for 23 years. I thank him for that. And no matter what happens after this, I pray Allah I will not become like Malcolm. I will not become like Khalid. And by the way, my brother Khalid, you know, I tried to explain to Khalid what was happening to him based upon what I saw with Malcolm. I showed Khalid my figures, my numbers on Malcolm being 666. And, you know, brother Khalid didn't understand how come the minister did not protect him from those people biting on him out of Chicago. The same way Malcolm was complaining about people biting on him out of Chicago. Well, I told Brother Khalid, I said, look, man, you're going to have to fight your own enemies. You can't expect Mr. Farrakhan to come in and fight your enemies. You know, you have to fight. You can't reach into the cocoon and take out the butterfly. You got to break out of the cocoon, man. Okay? And so, you know, I hope the Brother Khalid had, you know, gotten out of it. He was hurt that people were chewing on him. People been chewing on me since I've been here. But I have learned some things from Khalid and learned some things from Malcolm. That's just, you know, where you make a God. Mr. Farrakhan told me personally, he said, look, man, the way you make a God is that you throw him down to a pit of snakes. If you come out, well, he's a God. If not, well, he tried. So we wish that there was another way to make a God, but right now that's it. So for 400 years, we have not had any charge of self. But now Master Farad Muhammad has come to make a nation of gods. He didn't have to come over here to destroy America. The plane was up in 1929. He came over here to give us something special and to make something special out of us. Don't complain about the suffering that you're going through. If he hadn't come, you'd be dead anyway. Because the white man was lynching one black person every 3 days in America in 1930. He stopped because Master Farad Muhammad blocked him, scared the heck out of him with his technology. And so the white man has been busy trying to trick us to stay close to him. We are his hostages, human shield, against Master Farad Muhammad with his planes. So we need to come out of her We need to leave her alone. We need to separate. We have a program called Time, and you know, my t-shirt over here, see that? Time to leave. Slavery, suffering, and death goes to freedom, justice, and equality. And you see, homeboy is in a full sprint. Okay, he done made up his mind, and that it's time to leave. Let us go and build something for ourselves, knowing that we got protection from a God who got a plane and a bunch of weapons and even new stuff better than what he had in 1929. They've seen these things now. They admit it. They've been seeing them, the military. Now they even admit it. So, black man and black woman, find yourself a master study group. Get underneath the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad through Minister Farrakhan. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam. Minister Farrakhan is his national representative. And when and if the minister leaves, don't worry about who's going to take over, because guess what? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is live on the wheel. And even when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad does finally die, which he will, he still is going to be the eternal leader of the Nation of Islam. So don't worry about his place. Worry about your place. What are you going to do? Who are you? More than just a righteous Muslim, what's your characteristic? Which are the principles of Allah that you're going to manifest? What you going to become the God, the master over? All praise is due to Allah. Thank you very much for listening to my testimony so you understand a little bit about my will. Assalamu alaikum.